Let's hop into the mailbag. YouTube comments, X, formerly known as Twitter, or if you want priority access, you can become a Locked On Ducks insider. Link in the description below. Wherever you listen to or watch this show, you can get a free 14-day trial. Then it's just $5 a month. You get priority mailbag access. You get all sorts of other perks. You can talk to me one-on-one all throughout the day. I'll still answer your questions wherever they come from, but priority always given over there. Dylan asked, who are the 4 players that leave something to be desired? Now, Dylan phrased this question slightly differently, and I'll be honest, I amended it because I think it's a slightly better question. But his original question was, if you could swap 4 players on this Oregon team with anyone in the country, who would you go for? It's like, well, if you can put Ashton Jeanty in the backfield, yeah, well, no duh. If you can take, whoever the best NFL caliber offensive lineman is on the interior and put him in there, yeah, you're gonna do that. But I shifted this a little bit because I think it's a more interesting exercise. Who are the 4 players so far that leave something to be desired or have progress to be made? One guy stands out to me the most, and that's Marcus Harper, who has started on this Oregon offensive line since 2022. And I'm not coming on here and saying Marcus Harper's been terrible. He's been awful. I'm just saying I think he has another gear. We've been waiting, and Pro Football Focus reflects this as well, for Marcus Harper to make big strides in the running game. He hasn't yet. I'd like to see him do it this year. He's been around college football for a long time, so it's not as if he needs more time in the weight room or to understand the scheme or to get his body in shape or anything like that. He's been solid this season. I think he can still improve as a run blocker. As a pass blocker, he's still exceptionally solid. But that's the first guy I'd look at and say, he hasn't stood out to me as having an exceptionally great year, but he's still been really, really solid for this Oregon offensive line, which did not allow a sack of Dillon Gabriel on Saturday. Another guy that came into my mind, and again, as I said on the other side of the break, I kind of had a hard time with this, which is a good thing for Oregon to do, because there are a lot of guys who are either exactly what I thought they'd be or who are even better than I thought they'd be. Like, did I see Bryce Betcher being Pro Football Focus's number 3 linebacker in the country, fluctuating between 1, 2, and 3 from a grade standpoint? Did I expect him to be Oregon's leading tackler right now? Did I expect him to be as impactful in the pass game as he is? He had 2 pass breakups against Oregon State. He had an interception on Saturday against UCLA. No, I did not necessarily expect that. Did I think he was capable? I mean, maybe, but he's overperforming at this point. And I look at the way the secondary's played. They've been awesome. Defensive line, really good. Offensive line, they've started to figure it out. Though, as I mentioned, I think Harper has another gear to him. Dillon Gabriel, exactly what I expect. Running backs, still what I expect. Tight ends, receivers, like everybody has been really good. Oregon's 4-0. They've played 2.5 good football games and 1.5 poor ones. And they're going into Michigan State this week. It's the last opportunity to tune up before they get ready for Ohio State. So it was hard for me to sit here and think about, like, who have I been, disappointed in, or who has not yet played the way he's capable of and could do so by the end of the year. On defense, a couple names come to mind. One of them is Kobe Savage, but when I put this down in my show notes, I put a question mark after his name because I don't really know. Because here's where it's tricky with safeties, and I've talked about this a lot on the show. Oregon has not had a ball hawking safety on the back end since Verone McKinley, who led the country in interceptions, was an AP All-American. Like, guy was phenomenal. And Oregon's had some safeties who have been solid, but no one who I feel like is, a really roamy guy on the back end who's going to, not talking about Bryce Betcher here, play center field and go sideline to sideline and make a lot of plays. Kobe Savage hasn't been outstanding. He clearly hasn't been terrible. And the way you know that is Oregon's defense is not allowing a bunch of chunk plays. Now, he did have a bad run fit. No, that was Tyshim Johnson. But Savage doesn't take a great angle either on a long touchdown run by Ashton Jeanty. But Jeanty is surreal. He is not human. That is the way he is playing to this week. Now, that was not just an Oregon game thing or Georgia Southern. Like, he makes ridiculous runs. that Jordan James might, positively turn into a 5-7 yard game you feel good about. Ashton Genty's breaking 70-yard touchdowns. He's insane. Absolutely insane. But for Kobe Savage, if I asked you this right now, for those of you that have watched all 4 games this year, what's the most impactful moment he's had? Can't really think of one. I can think of a couple for Tysheem Johnson. He had the big tackle against Oregon State. He had the interception against UCLA on the deflection from Jabbar Muhammad. Like, there are moments, but it doesn't mean that he's playing poorly. It just means this was an all Big 12 conference safety who came over and he's been fine. But has he made a lot of splash plays? Is he heavily impacting Oregon's defense? No. And do you see it on every play? Also no. Because the fact that Oregon's defense is not getting consistently burned deep down the field means that Kobe Savage, who's Oregon's starting free safety, is doing his job. And sometimes that's all you need. But do I think there's another gear? Yeah. I think a guy, right now, would I say he's on track to be an all-conference selection as he was at Kansas State? No, not at all. Can that change? Yes. So Kobe Savage is a name that comes to mind. I think before him, though, on the defensive side, Jestin Jacobs has been kind of a surprise disappointment so far. I don't know if he's fully healthy because he's had an injury history. He got dinged up during fall camp. We saw that on that team out west. And I don't know. When he's been on the field, kind of like Kobe Savage, he's not necessarily doing anything wrong, but I don't feel like he's making an impact. Whereas when he joined the team after battling his way back from injury last year against Washington State, that was the first game he played, his impact was felt. His presence was there. He had a sack. He was hitting Cam Ward hard. He was making plays in the run game. When he's been out there, I feel like I never notice him, but I notice the other 3 linebackers that are there. Right now, I'd say he's been Oregon's 4th best linebacker this year. And coming into the season, I would have slotted him in as Oregon's starting number 2 linebacker. But he hasn't been as productive as Bryce Betcher. He hasn't been as active as Devin Jackson. And he's not as good as Jeff Bossa. That's Oregon's best linebacker, of course. And I said going in during the bye week that Oregon needs Jeff Bossa back because he's an impact guy for Oregon's defense. What do you know? Ducks defense plays great, and Jeff Bossa makes plays, had a sack, and did some other nice things as well. Had that great pass breakup on J. Michael Sturdivant, did a lot of really good things. And seeing Jeff Bossa back healthy, that is a big, big thing for this Oregon defense. But Jestin Jacobs is the other guy I'd go to and say, feels like there's more in the tank. Feels like there hasn't been the level of production we expect based on what he has done in the past. And look, that might not change because Boss is your number 1 and Jackson and Betcher have just been better. If Jacobs is your 4th linebacker, it means your linebacker room is doing pretty well. This is also underscoring the point that I was making at the start of the segment, though. An underperformer, a huge underperformer for the Ducks is their 4th string linebacker. That's a pretty good place to be on the defense. On the offensive side, outside of Marcus Harper, there have been no snap issues with Poncho. The offensive line penalties have cleaned themselves up. The offensive tackles are grading well. The receivers rock. The tight ends are involved. The running backs look good. I don't know. You guys tell me. Of people that have played, who do you feel like can take a big step forward? I think statistically, Evan Stewart could take a big step forward, but that's just going to be a random week-to-week sort of deal where, sometimes they're shading the coverage towards Evan Stewart. Sometimes they're shading it towards Trayshawn Holden. And Dylan Gabriel's just got to make the right reads, and he's been making them a lot, which is really, really awesome to see. But I don't think that's anything about Evan Stewart because we also saw him lead Oregon in receiving against Boise State. Statistically, he'll have better games than he did. He was 3 for 27 or something against UCLA. Wasn't super involved, but he always impresses anytime he does catch the ball because he's a crazy route runner. But I guess that would be the answer on offense. If I were to put a 4th in there, Evan Stewart can have better games, whereas 3 of the 4 he hasn't been heavily involved, and then 1 he leads Oregon in receiving yards. So